Today we're going to find out which fillet knife is the best one under $30. For the last 3 months I've been testing the 7 top most popular brands out there for fillet knives on the market, and finally today I'm going to give you a definite answer on which one you should go with. First of all, let's start with the cheapest one there is, and that is going to be the Dexter fillet knife. Usually you could get this one from between $10 all the way up to $14 or so, or that's what I bought it for. Now this is a really good knife for people that doesn't have a very big budget. I have some issues with this knife. It is a very stiff one, so it can be a little bit tough to do the nice filleting, you know. If you need to cut through bone, this thing is going to do it for you. I will say though, one thing about this knife that I do not like so much, and that is the first week that I had it, it got rust on it. Yes, now the knife does come with a lifetime guarantee, but still, if you buy a new knife and there is rust on it, I'm not happy about it, right? Now this is probably not going to happen to your knife, but since it did happen to mine, it is an important thing to note if you ask me. So for the price, maybe a good choice for you. I wouldn't pick it. The knife comes with a fantastic grip, even if the blade isn't the best one. Now it has kept sharp for a nice long time. It isn't the sharpest knife either, but as like a backup knife or something that you don't care so much about, it is a good option for sure. For budget. Moving on here, there is a little bit of a thing that I wanted to talk about before we move on to the other, well, typical knives here. To address the elephant in the room here. Tor, why is there a, well, electric knife here? I thought this was a traditional review. Well, it is, but I had to get one of these because I wanted to see how it compared to the more traditional knives that we're going to look at throughout this video. And I will say that my initial reaction or thought was right. Electric knives below $30 is not going to perform. First of all, there is a cord on this, and I generally use these knives for fishing. So pretty much that takes it out of the picture for me right away. However, I decided to take some fish home here to the boathouse and test out how it was to fillet the meat on it. And I will say it was clunky, and frankly it started smoking out of it and smelling burnt right away. And this thing already probably burning off in here. So for me this is already a no-go. So we will not be reviewing any more electric knives, at least in this price class. So moving from this Dexter knives up to this one, this is a Victorinox Fibrox knife. These ones are pretty similar, but you will see right away the quality difference. The Victorinox knife sits a lot better in your hand. It has my favorite grip out of all of these knives. After doing testing with this one is a great all-around knife. Now I got the 6-inch version here, as well as the one with a semi-flexible grip. I think this is a good place to go if you just want one knife. This one does a great job both for cutting through bones, as well as it's sharp enough and flexible enough that it's very easy to fillet fish with it. I will say, coming into this test or challenge, or what I should say, over the last few months, this one was one of the ones I thought would be reliable and good. And you know what? Victorinox has really measured up to what I expected it to do. This one, however, came in really bad wrapping. It didn't have any type of case or protection when I got it. It was wrapped in a tiny bit of bubble wrap. And I am very surprised, but still pleased to say that this is probably one of the sharpest knife out of them all. This one will cut through pretty much anything, and it has lasted for quite a long time between each sharpening, compared to the Dexter here, which came out of the box not as sharp, even though it had a lot better packaging. It was plastic, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the Victorinox has just been a great one. It sits nice in the hand. There is a good protection here, so you don't slip your finger up and cut yourself. No rust, which has been awesome. Anyway, next up in line here, we have the Kershaw Clearwater knife. Now this one was about $25 or so when I bought it, if I do remember correctly. This has been a really nice knife as well. It is a little bit more flexible than the Victorinox one. Ranging these three, I would say that this is the most stiff knife out of them all. This one is a little bit tricky to cut with. The Victorinox, I picked the one that was a little bit middle of the road. I would say that the Kershaw one is a little bit more flexible than the Victorinox one, but it is so thin, right? And that makes it a little bit difficult to cut through bones with. Like when you cut through bones with this Kershaw knife, you can actually start to feel the blade slipping a little bit, especially on thicker bones. For filleting, this has been a fantastic option. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I bought this knife, it came with this sheath, which put me kind of off to the knife right away. The sheath on this knife is not good. It also came in plastic packaging. But I mean, it's so stiff. Like a normal person would have to use a lot of force to get this out. And then when you first get it out, you know, whoosh. Yeah, so that's a big drawback. Sheath on this one was not good at all. I mean, you could probably make some adjustments to it, kind of melt it, but just out of the box, I would rather they didn't include this sheath at all because it's not safe to use. The knife, however, has been fantastic. Good grip, not as good as these other two, the Dexter and the Victorinox one, but it's a decent grip. You can start to feel it start to slip a little bit, especially when you have a lot of, when you fillet stuff, there usually comes a little bit of slime and blood and this type of stuff. You can feel it start to slip a little bit in your hand, but I do think it's a great option. It's one that has really surprised me, and for the value you get for it, I think this is frankly a pretty good option. However, it's like, my problem with this knife is that it does everything, but it doesn't do anything super well. Now, the bolster is probably the best out of all of them. That's the thing it has going for it. Probably that is the only single point that is great about it. But just as an all-around knife, if you're not going to cut through thick bones, I think this could be a good option, especially at the price point, $25, and you get the shitty sheath as well. Moving up $2 in price to $27, you're able to get something like this one. This is the Finnish Rapala Fish and Fillet. This one is super flexible, like ridiculously flexible. This one sits very lightly in your hand. And frankly, I want to say good things about this knife because it's a Finnish knife and it looks quality. You even get a good quality sheath coming along with it. Not one that's going to make you slice everyone around you, but frankly a good sheath that is made from leather. And yeah, this is a fantastic value for the money if you need something that you can fasten in your belt. I will say though that I don't like this knife as much as I wanted to. It looks very good. It has a wooden handle and it has no bolster to speak of at all. And the problem is when this one gets a little bit wet or slimy and you are sitting there filleting, and if your finger can very easily slide up there and you can hurt yourself. As you can see, this is the biggest knife of all of them, but this one is significantly lighter than every other knife there is of these ones. If you need a knife that you are able to keep your hands dry, however, this is an awesome filleting knife. Like, it's so flexible. This is by far the most flexible knife out of all of them. It is very sharp. It does the job very well, but it has the same problem as the Kershaw, just like cranked up to 11, in that when you're actually going to cut through bone with it, you start to feel it wobble. Like, it's fine on the very small bones. It's not like a multi-use knife in the sense that these other ones like the Victorinox and Dexter knife is. It's very specialized for only cleaning the fillets and taking off the skin. It has been good for its use, but it's very niche, I would say personally, sadly. Moving on here, we come to the KastKing. Now, the KastKing I bought in the size up because I didn't want just 6 to 7 inch knives. I wanted to have one that I could use on some bigger fish, like cod. Fish a lot of cod around here. I'm from Norway, by the way. I'm Tor, if I didn't say so. Now, the KastKing knife came in at about $29. So as you can see, you get a slight increase in price. It also came with a sheath and it had good packaging like all these other ones. It's a little bit difficult to put the knife back into the sheath compared to these other knives. However, this sheath, it's not going to make you slice someone around you. It's easy to use, easy to take out. I'm sure it's easy to put back in as well if you have any sense of hand coordination. It's a really nice grip on this one. As you can see, it does have a slight bolster as well. But since the grip is very comfortable, I feel a lot more confident using this knife to fillet the fish compared to something like this, the Finnish knife. Also, I will say that this one, it is very flexible. But I sized this one up so I can use it, of course, more to cut through bone easier, since the blade is frankly larger. But I will say it has a lot of the same problems as the Rapala and the Kershaw in that it is a very flexible knife, so it kind of limits its use cases, if you see what I mean. But when I have been using this one, I have been very happy with it. The grip, it's not as good as the Victorinox or the Dexter. When you get slimy hands or wet hand, your fingers has a tendency to move around a little bit. But it is a lot better grip than the Finnish knife. Also, it has kept sharp surprisingly long. It does the job it's supposed to. This has been a great knife. Coming with a sheath as well has made me very happy to use this knife. It's often one of the ones I just grab for while I'm down here. You know, I've been having this laying around for months now. And this one is one of the ones that I have gone for myself. Yeah, if you need something that it's going to work every time, a little bit slippery, the sheath isn't the best, I think this one can be a very good option for you. $29, however, it's up there. It's a lot more expensive than, for example, the Victorinox, which is $21, which is probably a steal. The Dexter one, of course, does have its drawback, but if I were to pick between one of these super flexible ones, I would probably go with the KastKing. The sheath is good, grip is more than decent. It just does the job. Last but not least, I really wanted to try out this fillet knife by Cutluxe. This one is described as a boning and fillet knife. Also, I will say that this one actually costs $33. However, you usually can get coupons for these ones. That brings them down to just at the $30 limit. So I decided to include this one. Frankly, this is the one that has the best build quality. Like, it is Tang construction. As you can see there, the blade is one piece compared to all these other ones, which seems to have different types of construction. Usually they just stick the blades into the handle. But the Cutluxe one is actually full steel all the way down to the butt of the knife. It has a very quality feel to it compared to these other knives. It's a lot heavier. If you feel the Rapala one and the Cutluxe, it's like a world of difference. This is probably 3 times as heavy or something compared to that one. Also, I will say that this one is pretty stiff. I have very mixed feelings about this knife. I think this knife, if you're going to keep something nice in the kitchen, I think that the Cutluxe knife is probably the one that I would go with. These other ones, however, I think are a lot better when you are going to go out fishing. This one, you want to be a little bit careful because, as you can see, the bolster here, it's like once you peek over here, there is a very good chance you're going to slice yourself. Also, the grip is too small for me. It just is. And on top of that, when this gets wet, your hand is going to slip a lot easier. I wouldn't pick this if you're going to go fishing, to put it like that. But for the kitchen, this is a great knife. It's by far the sharpest one as well. And it came in really nice packaging with like a little cloth for cleaning. It's like the Apple experience, you know, when you open up the case. Yeah, it's been really nice. Steel is very, very good. It lasts for a long time, but like I said, it is a little bit stiff. If I were going to compare it to one of the other knives, I would probably say it's more in the house of the Dexter knife, which is also stiff. But this one is sharper, so it's easier to work with than the Dexter one. However, it's for smaller people and it's not to use by the boat house, to put it like that. For the purposes of this video, it's not really the ideal knife, but for just like, if you want a nice kitchen knife, I would probably say that this is the best option, even though it is right there at the price cap. By the way, for all of these knives, I'm going to find the cheapest places you can buy them, and I'm going to link them down in the video description. Now, just keep in mind that these will be paid links, so I will get a little bit of a kickback if you do decide to support my work by using my links. But I do really appreciate it. That way I can invest more in more knives in the future and do more of these videos. I really want to do some different ones. But anyway, getting back to the review here. So which ones should you pick for which circumstances? Well, obviously, this one has its use cases. If you're strapped for cash, get this one. However, if you want to buy, for example, this one in combination with one of these other more flexible knives, like these three, that could be a good option because this one does the job pretty well and you don't need to be very careful with it. I mean, it costs next to nothing, has a good grip. So the cheapskate knife, good one there. These three, I'm going to go ahead and say that I would not buy the Rapala knife at all, unless there is that specific use case for it. Now, it's very nice, the presentation is great, but the knife itself, it's just not up there for me personally. Sorry about the cut there, my main camera just cut out. I've been doing individual reviews for all of these knives as well today. So if you want more detail, there are videos coming for all of them. Anyway, as I was saying before it cut off here, if you're going to compare apples to apples for these more flexible knives, this one is $4 cheaper. This is going to be the Kershaw knife. There is nothing wrong with this knife at all. It does everything it's supposed to completely adequately. But if you have $4 more, I would buy the KastKing one. First of all, the sheath is not useless for the KastKing one. It actually works. But just beyond that, I just think it does everything the Kershaw knife does, just better. Besides, the bolster is better on the Kershaw compared to the KastKing one. So if you need a very flexible knife, in the sense that with flex, I would go with the KastKing. It's just the best option, I would say. Now, as you probably noticed, there is one knife that I have not mentioned here yet, and that is going to be the winner knife for me, the Victorinox knife that is like semi-flexible. Now this thing just does everything right. It doesn't come with a sheath, and the packaging was questionable at best, but it survived the mail. And you know what? I'm just gonna say it. After having tested these ones out for 3 months, every time that I just need a knife to cut up some fish, I just pick this one. Now it cuts through bone without any problem. It makes really clean fillets. It's easy to take off the skin with it. It's super sharp. It's a quality brand. Victorinox is probably one of the best knives you can get for the price. The handle on this one, it's just so incredibly good. I'm very, very happy with this one. This is also the same brand that I use for my bigger knives, for a little bit of a bigger fish. I'm just blown away by the quality of this for $21. Compared to like the Cast King or the Cutlux knives, which is significantly more expensive. I mean, $29 and $33. This thing for $21 is just incredibly good all-around knife. Now, of course, if you need a sheath for it, I'm sure you could get one. I mean, you have saved in so much already, right? On the cost of it. So yeah, that's going to be my conclusion. Get this one. It's called Victorinox Fibrox. It's really nice. This is a flexible version, or at least semi-flexible. I'm going to add a link down to it in the video description. If you want to get any of these other knives, like I said, I would really appreciate it if you would use the links. It just gives me a little bit of an incentive to continue to create all these videos for you guys. Now, generally this channel is more about just the actual filleting and cleaning, cooking of fish and other seafood. I've done a lot on crabs and Norway lobsters here in the past. In the future, I'm going to make a lot more fillet videos. I have a lot planned. So subscribe if you're interested. And if you have any of these knives yourself, I would love to hear your feedback about it as well, so we can kind of start a little conversation down in the video description. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful for you. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.